Hi, everyone. For this week, I'm going to share with you a promising practice that I have begun using as of the spring of this past year. And then I've already used it again in the fall in the last few weeks. And it is with our vocabulary series that we use with Honors English 1. Um, this series is out of a book created by Jerome Shostak. And it's actually a book that I had gotten from Richard Mayfield many, many years ago when I came to PC. Richard was doing 10th grade and AP Lit at that time. And he had this series for both the 10th grade and for 12th graders. And at one point, when he quit doing 10th grade, he passed off the book to me, and I started using it with Honors English 1. And I really like it. I've kept it for all these years because the words are words that honestly I see everywhere. I hear them on TV shows, I'll read them, I hear them in conversation sometimes. But I see them and hear them a lot of places. And it's interesting that the kids will say, oh, Miss Cain, so and so used that our vocabulary word. They're not these obscure words that nobody ever hears or sees. And so that's why I've really wanted to continue to do them over the years. Generally, on our Shostak vocabulary tests in the Honors English 1, for myself, my classes usually range an average of about 76 to 82, depending on which unit it is. I do typically 4 of these units a year. And usually on the Unit 1 test, the scores are a little lower because the students are getting used to the kinds of tests that we're doing. We don't just do matching of the meanings of the words. We actually do um, synonyms, antonyms, and fill in the blank. And then when we do the units 1 through 3 test, the students also do analogies. So they kind of have to get used to that. Um, so I wanted to share with you a sample of what this looks like, just in case you haven't seen it. Those who have taught Honors English 1 have seen this before, obviously, and they use it. But as you can see, this is the list. There are usually 20 to 22 words, shows their usage and their pronunciation. These are the exercises that they do. It has the fill in the blank, and then it has antonyms, synonyms, and choosing the right word. And in class, we always, when we do this first one especially, we spend a lot of time talking about figuring out circumstances in which we can use the words that aren't just based on their meaning. A lot of students, when they're coming in ninth grade, they want to take words and stick them in the sentences just based on meaning alone. And they have a tendency to not think about the function of the word. So this gives us an opportunity to, do grammar, but not so, not like in getting an exercise out and saying, what is a noun? What is a verb? Instead, we can look at these circumstances and say, well, what kind of word are we going to need to fit in here? And then also what meaning, and now how can we put those things together? So I really like the exercises themselves. But I wanted to add something else to see if I could, start getting those averages up a little more, but also help the students keep the meaning of the word beyond just the unit test, because our Unit 2 test, Unit 3 test, Unit 4 test, they're all cumulative. So the words don't go away. The students still have to be tested over Unit 1 words when they're on the Unit 2 test, and so on and so forth. So, what I started doing is I started having a conversation with the students. At first, I started out, so in the spring, I had a conversation with the class as a whole using the words that we had um, on our set for that we were studying. At that time, it was Unit 4 because this was the first time I had done this way. And that worked out pretty well. And it gave us an opportunity to find where students were misusing words or misunderstood the meanings of words. So then I broke it down into having the students to do conversations at their individual team tables. And I had them to pick out words that they felt like they knew well, and then words that they didn't feel like that they knew as well or they felt like they were struggling with, and had them to conduct a conversation in their team using those words. And we didn't just do this once, we did it multiple times. And then now in the fall, I did it actually on 4 different occasions with the students. I had them to start class this way. This was our opening act, and they got very familiar with the process, so they were able to start right away. And it was neat listening to them kind of helping each other whenever they would incorrectly use a word, or if they got stumped on a word. I'll show you the instructions that I used for this. Let me make this a little bigger. So I gave them some sentence starters, or I'm sorry, some topic starters. Uh, and I put these instructions at the top just to kind of remind them of how to do it. We kind of, you know, of course, in my class, the students' desks are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and I use those each day to just designate who's going to start something or who's going to be in charge of, getting, something going, or doing some kind of job in class that day, like coming to get the highlighters or this, that, just to constantly get different people doing different things. So they're used to that in here. And so what we do with this process is I had person number one to choose a topic and to start a conversation. And then the students were to all end up joining in the conversation and checking off their words as they went that they had chosen to use for that particular conversation. And then their job also was to, if the conversation stalled, then it would move on, and person number two would just pick up another topic and start another conversation until everyone had comfortably used those 4 words, at least once, but hopefully even more than once in the conversation in the amount of time that I gave them. Um, and then on the next day, we would move into the next set of topics. And then the next day, we'd move into the next set of topics that I have. And then I skipped a couple of days. And the day before the test, I let them do this one more time, choosing a topic that they had not used yet. Um, what I liked about it was I started hearing these words more, and I started hearing the words more in other than just when directed. It seemed like that they got a kick out of, like, you know, using the words on purpose. And then also, I noticed as I was walking around and this was going on, I could tell that they were using the words more correctly. Um, while they were practicing the words, I would walk around and listen. And when I would hear someone incorrectly use a word, I would kind of wait to see if the group would, help that student or correct it or whatever. And if they didn't, then I would kind of step in and say, okay, let's think about this word again. And how did we use it? And then at the end of this, I would always ask, um, what did we do well? And have the students raise their hands and talk about what they did well in this process. And then what do we need to improve on? And then my last question was, so which words are we finding are the most difficult to use? And then we would talk about a couple instances of how we could use those words. So I really found that this was uh, pretty successful for me. I liked what I saw on their tests. The average for the first Shostak vocabulary test um, this time was an 86%. In the spring, when I used it on the Unit 4 vocab test, their average was an 87%, and that was their fourth vocab test they had taken of the year. So I feel like they were kind of more accustomed to the tests, but also then with this additional conversation thing, they were able to score an average of 87%, and that was over 2 classes. This time I had just one class with 31 students, and we averaged an 86%. But I'm still really happy with that because that's a lot of A's there, and not not many in the below B range. So really happy about the way this has come out. Um, I'm not going to say that this is the sole reason for that uh, improvement, but yet I have taught the vocab for a lot of years, and I haven't really experienced the average being this high on a regular basis. So I'm anxious to see as I go through the rest of this year with this group and we do units 2, 3, and 4, if this continues to um, be something that keeps us, performing at a high level. Thank you all for listening to me go on and on about this. I feel like I've just like worn your ears out, but I hope that that maybe if you try this, that it will work out well for you too. Thanks so much, and you guys have a great week.